There are creatures science refuses to recognize.
Many people had seen things but never reported it to anybody.
All I caught was those red eyes.
Some people think he was a being from another world.
Just what it is, no one is sure.
Author Gray Barker was the first to bring the story of the Mothman and his connection to the collapse of the Silver Bridge. Following this was John Keel's Mothman Prophecies, the book that released in 1975 where he worked with reporter Mary Hyre and popularized the Mothman. Keel tied his stories and reports of Mothman to that of UFOs and otherworldly events that went down in Point Pleasant, West Virginia for a month. Keel was also one of the first to bring forth the idea of Mothman being a harbinger of doom or an omen of death. At first, the creature was just referred to as the bird. However, Patricia Seiler of Herald Dispatch in Huntington, West Virginia, published an article with the earliest known use of the Mothman name on November 17, 1966. Due to the popularity of the Batman TV series at the time, right, the one with Adam West, the villain Killer Moth is believed to have inspired the Mothman name. The Mothman stories usually go back to 1966 or just the 1960s in general, but it's loosely believed that in the 1940s, like late 1940s, the Birdman sightings were actually the start of the Mothman stories. In the year 1948, in Longview and Chehalis, Washington, was a sighting of something that would be referred to as a flying humanoid. The first one was reported on January 1948, claiming a flying man was seen. Bernice Sykowski had reported a sighting of a flying man in Chehalis, Washington. Sykowski said that the Birdman was upright and made sizzing and whizzing noises as it went to fly, and that his wings didn't flap or rotate. Right, something like that. Sorry. No propeller was seen on him either, and authorities obviously said, huh? Mrs. Sykowski had insisted she had a good view on the man and said that a group of children coming home from school had been with her and ran to her backyard to get a better look at it as well. At the time, Police Chief Tom Murray gave no interest into this incident and refused to investigate altogether. Murray was skeptical and believed it to be similar to a flying saucer report that happened earlier in Washington, right, the Kenneth Arnold and the Maury Island sightings to be exact. On April 10, 1948, report of 3 birdmen flew over Longview and were seen in the Columbia River area. 2 people had seen human airplanes fly over the city without parachutes. Viola Johnson and James Pittman reported seeing the entity at the same time. They had called other workers, but before any of them were able to get outside, the flyers were gone. Mrs. Johnson was quoted by saying, "As far as I can judge, they were about 250 feet in the air, in dark, drab flying suits. I'm not very good at judging distance though." She had also reported the entity as fast as a freight train and had no propeller or motor. Although motors could be heard, but not super loud. Reports of feet dangling and helmets on their heads were made, while other Longview residents had also reported hearing plane motors around the same time of this sighting. This seemingly matches the reported sound of the Chehalis incident. Later on, George Sykowski later gave more insight on Mrs. Sykowski's sighting. He explained that the newspaper had made the incident seem dumb. He described Bernice as old country, and her descriptions were hard to understand. The Sykowskis later found out that the entity was someone in a parakeet, which is just an earlier version of a hang glider. This was during a time that people looked for a place to use hang gliders, and they believed that this place must have been good to use. Mrs. Sykowski did describe the wings as big, silver, and strapped to the shoulders with handle controls strapped to the chest. This did bother George that the newspapers played up the incident, but the explanation wasn't given the same attention. They either left this part out entirely, or due to her being hard to understand, this must have been misinterpreted. Washington State Archivist Chuck Flood states that the descriptions given by Bernice Saikowski, such as flying upright, hovering, wings retracting and expanding, and ascending rapidly, didn't match something as a paraglider. They just can't really do that. And Flood also believes that some sort of history rewriting was done here. While there was an easy explanation, it still doesn't explain why the motor sounds were heard by both reports. The use of flying devices was well known, but they had propellers and were silent. This also wouldn't match the description of the reports. Residents did side with the belief of something paranormal. This must have been due to the timing of the flying saucer reports and due to Washington being UFO County at this time. So, paranoia or just interest in general would grow. On November 12, 1966, along the Elk River near Clendenin, West Virginia, Kenneth Duncan was digging a grave for his father-in-law with 4 other men. He had spotted a human-like figure fly out of the woods and into the sky. The other 4 didn't see the creature, and Duncan claimed it had been in sight for a minute. They had only discussed this with a few friends, and it could have been forgotten if it wasn't for the most popular sighting of Mothman taking place a few days later. Right, you probably know this one now. The Point Pleasant, West Virginia sightings. The most popular ones, obviously. So, one of the earliest investigated reports within Point Pleasant actually happened 3 months before the well-known ones. In August 1966, Lawrence Gray had come home from church when he got a strange feeling something was in his house around 9:30 p.m. He searched his house but found nothing out of the ordinary, except his hook-style lock on his basement door being unlatched. Lawrence and his wife went to sleep between 10:30 and 11 p.m., but around 3 a.m., he woke up and looked outside his window as a car pulled into a nearby church. Lawrence then saw a 6-foot-tall glowing figure described as dark gray and white with deep eyes and large wings standing in the room with its shoulders arched and head tilted. When he saw it, he was paralyzed with fear and convinced that it was the devil. He focused on reciting Bible verses. The creature vanished after about 45 seconds. Then there's a smaller account that was made by a National Guardsman on November 1st, 1966, near Camp Conley Road in Point Pleasant. He claimed to have seen a large brown humanoid figure perched on a tree limb. Alright, those are lesser known reports that preceded the widely known reports, which I can get to now. On November 15, 1966, 2 sightings of the Mothman went down, with one of these not being remembered as much. Merle Patridge of Salem, West Virginia said his TV suddenly went dark around 10:30 p.m. When it turned back on, it had a strange pattern and a loud, high-pitched sound came from outside, saying it sounded like a generator winding up. Once outside, he could see Bandit facing the barn, and once he turned his flashlight on towards the barn, he saw 2 glowing red circles that looked like eyes, and Bandit ran towards the eyes. Patridge then went inside for his gun, but was too shaken to come back outside, and then in the next morning, Bandit was nowhere to be seen. 3 days later, in Point Pleasant, 2 married couples, Roger and Linda Scarberry, and Steve and Mary Mallett, reported a large creature to the police. The ladies spotted the creature standing at the side of the road near what's known as the TNT area, which was a World War II munitions plant and looked like it was gray, slender, muscular legs, 7 foot tall with wings whose eyes glowed red in their headlights. After being distressed by this, Roger, the driver, sped away. However, the creature started following them, appearing on a hillside near the road. Its wings spread wide and flew into the air, then chased the car, which was reportedly going around 100 miles per hour. They reported the creature as moving at high speeds and having left them alone, running into a field after they reached the city limits. All 4 of them had described it as humanoid with wings, and despite detailed descriptions, Linda and May both reported being unable to see arms or a head. Roger had told papers that he wouldn't have reported it if only he saw it, but since all 4 of them saw it, they had to report it. Steve is quoted by saying, "It was like a man with wings, and it wasn't like anything you'd see on TV or in a monster movie." Steve also claimed the creature to be afraid of the light. The group had been going down Route 62 and had reportedly seen a dead dog along the path. This could have been Patridge's dog Bandit, but there's no confirmation for that. Over the next few days, more people reported the creature, such as 2 firefighters who reported seeing a large bird with red eyes. Mason County Sheriff George Johnson claimed he thought the sightings were just an oddly large heron he called a shitepoke. Later in November, resident Bob Bosworth and a friend of his were out riding their motorcycles and had spotted glowing red spots at the top of the North Power Plant at the TNT area. Lastly, on November 25th, the first daytime encounter with Mothman was reported. Tom Urey of Clarksburg, West Virginia had an encounter with the bird at 7:15 a.m. as he went north on Route 62 after visiting his family on Thanksgiving. Tom's account says he saw a flying object come out of the woods to his right. He said it went up like a helicopter towards his car and began going in circles above his car. The car itself had been going about 70 miles per hour, but the creature had kept up with it easily. And it's worth noting that bro had a convertible, so like, imagine feeling like this dude can just rip through your roof, snatch you, and like, I don't know, touch you. In La Crosse, Wisconsin, 2006, a man and his son were driving down a deserted road when they claimed that a fleshy bat-like creature with hair and red eyes attacked their car. It let out a screech that gave them both nausea and vertigo, which forced them to pull over. On September 2009, in Sacramento, California. Why Sacramento? A photographer named Lamont Greer had claimed to have spotted the humanoid creature around the top of Sacramento's Tower Bridge one night while taking pictures of the bridge at the time. He's quoted saying, "I kind of felt something looking at me. When I first saw it, I didn't know what it was." And also saying, "It spread its wings and then started flying off. It wasn't a man, it wasn't a bird. It was absolutely strange and unique." In 2003, a website named Mothmanlives.com was the earliest trace of the popular photos of what is believed to be the Mothman on top of a bridge before it collapsed. What we do know about these pictures is that they actually do show parts of the bridge breaking off, and these parts are not actually Mothman. These images just tend to appear whenever people talk about Mothman online and just want to use an image. They also tend to circulate back up every now and then, most recently being placed alongside the Maryland bridge collapse in early 2024. In 2016, a West Virginia news station received an image of what is believed to be Mothman flying in the air by an anonymous source who drove on Route 2 in Mason County. Nothing has really come from this image outside of science writer Sharon A. Hill proposing the idea that it's actually just a bird or an owl carrying away another small animal. A fucking buzzkill. There's a lot of belief that the Mothman sightings and Mothman himself are an omen of death, like I said before. Lots of reported sightings of Mothman happen just prior to some sort of disaster taking place. The earliest reported omen actually dates back 40 years before Point Pleasant and takes place during 1962 in China. A winged man was reportedly seen, although it was dubbed the man dragon, it resembled the Mothman description. It was reported as black or dark gray, wings and glowing red eyes, and a dam here collapsed on January 19, 1926, and 15,000 people lost their lives. However, this claim has an unknown source, and searches for the dam online result in nothing matching the incident. It's very likely that this claim isn't true, but still gets lumped in with Mothman claims online. On September 10, 1978, a group of miners, coal miners mind you, in Freiburg, Germany had encountered a winged creature with glowing eyes in front of the mine's exit. The creature let out a screech before flying away. An hour later, the mine collapsed. On April 26, 1986, when the Chernobyl disaster happened, there were reports of a large black bird-like creature with red eyes flying around the power plant on the day of the disaster. In 1999, when the Russian apartment bombings happened, sightings of Mothman were reported shortly before the disaster happened. Russian ufologists claimed that this was a foreshadow. In March of 2009, two women walked through a cemetery when they heard the creature screech. A passerby had tried to chase down the creature, but it left before it could be reached. Shortly after this, the Mexican swine flu of 2009 broke out, resulting in 400 deaths. In 2011, in Okuma, Japan, a black winged creature with red eyes was reported to have swooped down a power plant. Days later, an earthquake hit the area, resulting in the plant being damaged and releasing radioactive materials and resulted in 573 deaths. The absolute strangest claimed omen were reports that Mothman was seen flying nearby the World Trade Center on 9/11, with some claiming that he flew parallel to one of the planes. You know, Mothman on 9/11 sounds like a 2009 YouTube video that would just end up being a fucking jump scare. And lastly, for the omens, the most well-known example of this is the Silver Bridge collapse on December 15, 1967. The Silver Bridge, which connected West Virginia and Ohio, had collapsed due to a failure in the bridge's suspension, and 46 deaths were reported. This did end up changing the way the US built and inspected bridges as well. Although seemingly unrelated, locals believe that the sightings of the Mothman a year prior were foreshadowing this disaster. And from here, the idea that Mothman and an Omen of Death being linked together kind of started. Ever since the 1950s, those within the Lake Michigan area have been reported a flying creature in the air. However, in 2011, a man taking pictures of a local landmark in Chicago had unknowingly captured a strange object flying in the background. This would be the first of 3 reported sightings to come out of this area at this time. The man who captured the image was taking pictures of a giant Indian on the roof of a tobacco store. The fuck did I just read? He and his wife were going by, and he took the time to get pictures. Later, when he looked back at them, he noticed an object similar to a bird or a bat, but not similar enough. These images were taken on August 22nd, 2011, at about 2 p.m. Second report labels Mothman as a fucking pervert. No, literally, reports of a glowing-eyed creature peeking through people's windows were made. On September 30, 2011, within the University Park neighborhood of Chicago, 2 women had spotted 2 glowing red eyes staring at them from their window. The first one saw the eyes alone, and as the second one tried to calm her down, saying that they're 3 floors high, she ended up seeing the red eyes as she grabbed her phone. On the phone was her boyfriend with his best friend, who both claimed as they were heading towards the woman's apartment, they had seen a large 6 or 7 foot black bat with glowing eyes perched on a basketball hoop. As it saw them, it flew into the air, making an audible whoosh. He states that about 6 people at the park had seen it as it took off, and it would have been hard to miss due to all the streetlights and the moonlight, but it got lost after about 5 seconds. Moonlight, yeah. Just gotta throw that one in there, sorry. The third sighting was on October 14, 2011, also within the University Park area. Someone reported seeing a group of people that caught his attention, and as he looked towards them, something flew overhead. He said it looked like a man with wings and was about 10 to 12 feet above them. He also stated that it looked like a sugar glider as it had similar shape to it, but had glowing red eyes. Fucking shocker. At first, he believed it was a man on a hang glider, but the eyes made him think otherwise. After these first 3 reports in Chicago, nothing had really come out or returned interest until 2017, where 55 reports were made that year near the Chicago Lake Michigan area. As of right now, these Chicago area Mothman sightings are the most recent thing about the Mothman in general. Obviously, bro hasn't been caught yet, and photo evidence is all that we have, but for modern day stories, this is all that we have. And 2017, as of 2025, really isn't that long ago. If I just do this section like this. So the only claims of UFOs and Men in Black being tied to Mothman comes directly from John Keel in his book The Mothman Prophecies. On December 22nd, 1967, Mary Hyre, the co-author of the book, had an encounter with 2 men in black who went into her office and asked her if she had been told not to publish these stories of flying saucer activities. Later that same day, another man in black named Jack Brown, who claimed to be a friend of Gray Barker and also claimed to be a UFO researcher, had gone into her office and asked her the same question that the other 2 had asked. The question was, what would you do if someone ordered you to stop publishing stories of flying saucers? Her usual response was, I would tell them to go to hell. Keel also writes about UFO witnesses who had developed a sort of blindness after the sightings, and then compared this to Mary Hyre's niece, Connie. Connie had sighted the Mothman herself, and developed these exact symptoms that these UFO witnesses had gotten, which was usually just red eyes and claims of radiation rays are made. Keel gives an in-depth explanation onto what this is, like what these symptoms are, and I'm just like, how does he know? I don't even think you can just make those claims if you don't have any sort of medical experience. Keel very much believes that there is a link between Mothman and UFOs. In the book, the Men in Black don't really care about Mothman, like genuinely, they really don't give a fuck about him. They just want Mary Hyre to stop publishing stuff about UFOs. I guess it's also worth noting that Keel covers other claims of, reported flying humanoids. Some of these were made in 1880 and some were made in 1946. I truly don't think that there is a lot of weight to the idea of UFOs and Men in Black with Mothman. It just comes from Keel himself. While his influence is huge, his credibility is based on the stories of others. That in itself is a mixed bag. But when it comes to paranormal stuff, how do I ask for credibility? It just puts me in a shit situation because I'm borderline asking for proof. But how the fuck do you ask for proof of Mothman? You just don't. While trying to be open, but also gotta be realistic. As long as one person is making a specific claim, I don't think it will ever have much weight. Arguments against Mothman are usually pretty simple and generic, right? Paranormal entity doesn't exist because we know about it by now. Or something along the lines of, it's just a fucking bird or an owl. And it's like, okay, can I have a better explanation that isn't bullshit? Some people do offer better explanations though. During the Point Pleasant sightings, as reports kept coming out and theories were being made, wildlife biologist Dr. Roger L. Smith informed everyone that these sightings fit the sandhill crane, a bird with a 7-foot wingspan and red color around its eyes. It was also believed that by some people at this time that it was just a prank, but when press reported it, it led to panic within a small town. Honestly, I can kind of see that one. I can kind of see that it was a joke that just kind of went too far. Joe Nickel, an American paranormal investigator, claimed that numerous hoaxes followed the publicity of the original reports. Nickel ties the red eyes seen by people as the red eye effect, given when flashlights are reflected off the eyes of animals, as well as attributing Mothman to just barn owl sightings. Psychologist David A. Gallo of the University of Chicago described the 55 sightings of Mothman in Chicago in 2017 as selective sampling done by a researcher of the Fortean website Lawrence Strickler. Gallo stated that Strickler didn't sample random people, only those who voluntarily gave a report. Gallo believed that those who believed in the paranormal were more likely to visit a paranormal-centric site like Strickler's, which would result in them witnessing Mothman. Lastly, in 1966, Ace Henry shot a snowy owl in Point Pleasant, and local newspapers described the owl as a giant owl because of its nearly 5-foot wingspan. This is believed to be the origin of Mothman sightings as well. The owl itself is displayed as a mount at the Mothman Museum. While Mothman doesn't have the benefit of a controversial and hard to prove or disprove video like Bigfoot does, he still remains highly believed in. Plus, he's just kind of fucking cool. Also, since I said that, I know cryptid elitists on the internet that are like, ew, paranormal entity doesn't count. That's so stupid, honestly, but I hate those types of people anyways. Like, let's have fun with something. It's folklore at this point. It's fun. Just let it be fun. Like, I come across a lot of things, so I just want to have fun with it, dude. Like, why there gotta be people like that are essentially elitist about cryptids that are like, oh, if this isn't like an actual animal that might have existed, it just doesn't fucking count. Like, y'all are fucking lame. I won't lie. Like, before making this video, I thought Mothman was cool, but I just didn't know shit about him until making this video, actually. I didn't get into him, like, at all as a kid. I got more into Bigfoot and, like, Chupacabra. Or, like the Thunderbird. For some reason, I got really into the Thunderbird. I don't know why. Like, Chupacabra, because, like, Latino origins. I'm Mexican, of course. Bigfoot, because he's, like, the cryptid. I think if you're into cryptids in general, you're probably loosely into Bigfoot. It also helps that the Lost Tapes show was fucking cool to me as a 8-year-old and 9-year-old. And even a 24-year-old now. I still think it's cool. It's kind of fucking shit, but it's, like, it's good shit, right? Look, I love that show. It's cool. I want them to bring it back, but like it's not gonna be as good. I know it's not gonna be as good, but I want them to bring it back. Did Mothman even have a Lost Tapes episode? I don't even know actually. Now that I say this, right? It's like it was on Animal Planet. It's such a strange thing. Why is it on Animal Planet? But yeah, that show obviously introduced me to like cryptids and stuff outside of like Bigfoot and Chupacabra and Loch Ness Monster, right? Because I feel like those are the big three essentially, like the most well-known ones. But maybe you can throw in Mothman in there. Maybe you can swap him out for Chupacabra. I can't fucking speak. This entire fucking video has been me fucking up shit. And I swear to God, this is probably really fucking long, only because I keep fucking up everything I say. As of me recording this right now, I see it's 45 minutes of raw footage. I don't know what the actual video is going to come out like, but I can guarantee you 30 minutes of this is just me going, fuck me, why I say it like that. With that being said, that's the entire story of Mothman. At least that I can find. I'm sure that really is the entire story of Mothman. It's really cool, but like, I don't know. I would rather just say that it's unsolved, because I don't know if something like Mothman could exist, but they saw something. I don't know what they saw. I just feel like some of the explanations aren't always as good. Some are good enough, but they don't cover like all the bases. That being said, I do hope something comes out, like a video. I really want a video of Mothman to come out. Something that can't be like disproven immediately. It is just a shame that we don't really have footage of him. At least like not a good video. Like, I'll be honest, if we got a Mothman footage, or you know, Mothman caught on camera thing, whatever, it's probably gonna be low quality. Like, let's be honest. He's in the air. We gotta be honest. Most people have phones and they have good cameras, but they're not meant to capture something in the air, right? Because if it's in the air, it's a lot farther away from you. I am more than sure phones are just made for the capability of capturing something that's very close to you. This is probably why UFO videos caught on camera and stuff are always kind of low quality or pixelated, right? Phones just aren't meant for capturing something in the distance. And I say this because there's always the fucking argument of, oh, why is anything paranormal always caught on stuff, you know, on a fucking potato? It's like, do you not know how technology works? I fucking barely do, but like, even I can comprehend that. Anyways, my shin hurts. That's it. Yeah, that's the story of Mothman. I don't want to stutter anymore, so I'm gonna just, you know, bye.